So in the state of Tennessee, you will commonly hear politicians tell you that life is precious and we need to adopt various policies to preserve the sanctity of life. But what they might not tell you and what you might not know is that if the state of Tennessee negligently kills someone or negligently causes a death to you or a loved one, the most they'll ever have to pay is $300,000. A statute that was passed back in the 80s and has really never been changed since then. $300,000, that's the value of a human life if the state of Tennessee negligently takes it. And I want to tell you why that's outrageous to me. And if you think so too, maybe you can contact your legislator. So there was a case recently in what's called the Tennessee Claims Commission, which is the court where you sue the state of Tennessee. It's a specialized court. And what happened here was a Tennessee Highway Patrol officer chased a high-speed driver up and down the interstate and through the city of downtown Cookeville at 7:30 in the morning at speeds over 100 miles an hour. And the driver that the highway patrol officer was chasing slammed into the car of a 25-year-old woman who had two young children in the car, and all three people were killed, the mother and her two young children. And the most that the state had to pay for all of these people and all of their lives was $300,000 times 3. And that's after the Claims Commission awarded $5.5 million. So this $300,000 cap was enacted in the 1980s. At that time, it would have maybe seemed like a lot more money than it does now. It's never been adjusted for inflation or cost of living in the state of Tennessee. So it essentially just goes down every year, and the state's relative exposure goes down. And the real problem isn't simply that it's a low cap. It's that because there is a cap at all, the state can always negotiate under that cap. So we had a case that was one of the worst cases I've ever handled, involving a brutal and violent prison death. And the most that the state would agree to pay was a little over $200,000. Why? Because the most they could ever have to pay was $300,000. And in order to get the $300,000, we would have to hire experts and spend time and money on depositions and court costs, court reporters, so that functionally it's a catch-22. Even if you go to trial against the state and win the $300,000, you as the client may be better off having just settled for the $200,000 because it's essentially the same net recovery. So it creates a kind of catch-22 where plaintiffs are sort of forced to take less money even than the cap because functionally they can never get more. So I just thought most people watching this video will have no idea that there is a $300,000 cap if a state trooper, negligently ran a red light and killed one of your family members. Even if that person was earning $2 million a year, the most that the state would ever have to pay you would be $300,000. And it's a system that makes no sense, because why is it so low? Why isn't it got a cost of living adjustment or an inflation rider so that it at least adjusts with the times? So if you think that that should be the case, I would suggest that you contact whoever your state legislator is. I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can find out who that is, and just let them know that you think, hey, this should be changed. And I'll also link the documents on this tragic case of the highway patrol officer and the police chase whose negligent conduct resulted in the death of a young 25-year-old mother and her two young kids in Cookeville, Tennessee. It's just an outrageous thing that shouldn't happen. And if there's no deterrent effect, right, the reason we have civil lawsuits and plaintiffs' lawyers is hopefully to improve society, to make things safer, to make people take less extreme risks, to hold corporations accountable, to hold the government accountable. And we don't get to do that if they know that they can never be held accountable, that $300,000 is all they'll ever have to pay. So let them know that you think it should be changed. Thanks for watching.